time. Hi, good morning, judges. My name is Terence. Along my brewing journey, I've constantly challenged myself to optimize brew variables to achieve high and immersive sweetness with structured tactile and a well-balanced cup in my brew. In order to achieve this, I have to dive deeper into understanding the brewing process and identifying the brew variables in which I wish to optimize. And today, I'll be sharing with you the highlights of my findings. You may now refer to your info cards. I'm optimizing my brew by using two extraction methods, using two different water temperatures, brewing two different roast profiles. Starting with the two extraction methods, I am using the Hario switch dripper, in which caters to the demand of percolation and immersion. Percolation gives my brew a cleaner cup and allows me to target the extraction of volatile compounds, whilst immersion gives my brew a more wholesome tactile and also allows me to diffuse remaining sweetness. Taking advantage of the unique capabilities of this dripper, I'm using two different water temperatures. A higher water temperature of 93 degrees Celsius is used for my pre-infusion and my first pour during the percolation phase at the beginning of the brew. This is to extract more sweetness and even more volatile compounds, as sugary compounds are found to be in its highest concentration at the beginning of a brew. Immersion is using a lower temperature of 75 degrees Celsius during my final pour. This is to minimize the potential of extracting bitterness, at the same time to complement the immersion process of diffusing remaining sugary compounds into my brew. I'm using two roast profiles at a 1:1 ratio. A shorter roast profile of 6 minutes and 30 seconds is able to preserve more aromatic compounds and give my brew complexity of flavor and clarity. Whilst a longer roast profile of 7 minutes and 5 seconds with 15 seconds more on the Maillard phase and 20 seconds more on the development time gives my brew a more structured body and candy sweetness. Combining the three parts is how I've managed to obtain the results that I want, which is a high sweetness coffee with well-structured tactile and a well-balanced cup. And now I will show you how I brew this coffee. Referring to the pouring sequence, I start by quickly immersing 40 grams of coffee, in which I quickly unlock the switch. This process allows for a uniform saturation of all the grounds and complements my first pour, which is also my percolation pour, of 120 grams, resulting in a more even extraction across the coffee grounds. At the 1 minute mark, I lock the switch and start with my final pour of 80 grams. I pour along the brew walls, pushing down all the coffee grounds, ensuring they are evenly distributed before allowing them to go through an immersion phase of 40 seconds. And at 1 minute 50 seconds, I unlock the switch and allow a drawdown, completing my brew in 2 minutes and 10 seconds. In order to fully optimize the switch dripper, I am using the Sibari's paper filter. It helps to overcome the tendencies of this dripper into choking or over-extracting when paired with other paper filters. This is because the Sibari's paper filter has a higher permeability, which means that it has a faster filtering speed, which results in a much greater and better extraction flow. The brew ratio that I'm using today is a 1:15 brew ratio, in which translates to 16 grams of coffee to 240 grams of water. The grind size that I'm using is a 21 click on the Comandante hand grinder, in which I have diligently blown away majority of the silver skin to prevent them from causing bitterness or astringency. The water that I'm using is 80 ppm, in which I've made with 1 sachet of the aqua code to give my brew higher structure and better viscosity. Judges, now that we have the brew methods in place, it is time to talk about the coffee that I've chosen to complement it. You may now flip over your info cards. The coffee that I've prepared for you today is the Bolivia Floripondio Geisha Natural, which has undergone malolactic fermentation. Malolactic fermentation is a fermentation that is commonly used in France for red wine. It involves transforming malic acids into lactic acid. In this process, whole coffee cherries are being anaerobically fermented to encourage the growth of lactic acid bacteria. Water is used to regulate the temperature to create an environment where malolactic fermentation and yeast-driven fermentation happen at the same time. They are fermented for 66 hours in stainless steel tanks, after which they are slowly dried in single layers. The fermentation gives the coffee complex flavors of tropical fruit, white grape tonality, high viscosity, and a clean mouthfeel. Now that the coffee is almost done, I am really excited to serve you this coffee, because this coffee performs its best 7 days after roast. And today, after tasting the coffee, I felt that this was the perfect coffee to start things off. Alright, now that the coffee is almost done, it is time to jump into the aroma and the taste evaluation. For the aromas, you may write it down. You will get a dominant note of orange blossom that is followed by honey with a hint of mango. For the evaluation protocol of today's coffee, you may refer to your info cards if you've missed out any details. For the aroma, please lift the carafe, swirl, lift it to your nose, take in at least 2 sniffs, and then when you're done, just place it in front of you. As for all the other components, you may evaluate it directly from the cup in which I'll be serving you later. Alright? Okay, time for the aroma. There you go. Alright, there you go. Alright, there you go. Okay, I'll be right back. May I? Alright. Judges, you may now start to write down the flavor notes of today's coffee. For the flavors, when it's hot, it will start with an orange note and papaya. When it's warm, you will get cantaloupes, mango, and red grape. And when it's cold, you will get papaya, mango, and a hint of orange zest. The aftertaste of this coffee carries a lingering honey aftertaste from hot, warm to cold. When it's hot, it gives you honey and orange blossom. When it's warm, it's honey with a hint of orange zest. And when it's cold, it's honey oolong tea. The acidity of this coffee is a medium intensity acidity that is lively from hot, warm to cold. When it's hot, it gives you citric acidity like orange. When warm, citric acidity remains, but lactic acidity starts picking up at a medium intensity. And when it's cold, it's a combination of lactic and citric acidity together. The body of this coffee is a medium weight coffee that has a medium viscosity from hot, warm to cold. It carries a milky texture that remains consistent across its hot, warm, and cold stage, structured, and it doesn't collapse in any of the stages. Moving on to the balance of today's coffee. This coffee is led by its high honey sweetness, followed by its milky texture, complemented by its complex flavors, finished with a delicate aftertaste, which makes it indeed a perfect coffee to start the morning such as today. Making this coffee a gentle and elegant coffee that reminds you of a sweet yet a warm hug. Judges, before I leave you to enjoy your coffee, it is important that I share with you this message. In order to make the specialty coffee industry sustainable, we have to constantly look into optimizing variables revolving around coffee, maximizing those variables so that nothing goes to waste into creating a tasty cup that can be tasted today and for generations to come. And with that, my name is Terence. I hope you enjoyed the presentation, and I call time.